Thank you very much. That is what you get when you have an audience all the way from Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome, Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm Father Mitch Packer. Welcome to EWTN Live, where we usually bring you guests from all over the world, but tonight we're going to stay with a guest from right here in Sweet Home, Alabama. We'll learn today about the Edmondite Southern Missions, which has been ministering the corporal works of mercy to an area of the Deep South, especially here in Alabama, that is known as the Black Belt. It has some of the poorest communities in the country, and they've been doing it for almost 85 years. To tell us more about it, please welcome the president and CEO of the Edmondite Missions, Mr. Chad McEachran. Chad, welcome.
Thank you, Father.
Good to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good to have you. You know, this area of Alabama called the Black Belt has that name because it has the finest black, deep soil in the state. It's really good growing land. But you wouldn't know it from the economy. It's pretty rough down there economically, isn't it?
It certainly is. Yes, it's very rough. In the city of Selma, where the missions are headquartered, we have a poverty rate of over 30%.
Yeah.
And it's low, very hard employment opportunities, and upward mobility is difficult.
Almost. No, I mean, there's almost 75% unemployment, isn't it?
For a certain age group of young men, yes.
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 And this is a terrible challenge, especially when what had been the main source of income in that area is left fallow. The fields are just left fallow. Nothing's growing there anymore.
In so many ways, you're right. And that's one of the things in the missions that we're trying to work on aggressively with the agriculture. And what we've started it called the Black Farmers Initiative. And that is really working to help capitalize black farmers in rural Alabama to help and set them up with what they need to begin the crop and growing season earlier, to give them what tools, even the seeds, to be able to purchase the seeds ahead of time. And we, the missions, in our nutrition center in Selma, serve 1,300 meals a day. And at that center, what we're trying to do now is we're guaranteeing procurement from these black farmers to help, stimulate the economic impact in these very rural, impoverished areas by purchasing from those exact farmers that we're helping to take a stand, move forward.
Yep, because this, the way out of poverty is never going to be dependence on state help or federal help.
No.
It has to be folks coming up with their own ways of making an income and moving forward.
Yes, and what's really interesting in the missions, we have a slogan, service to solutions. And while we are trying some very innovative ways like the Black Farmers Initiative and our Academy program, which is funded through the Conrad Hilton Foundation, the Sisters Initiative, where we call it Catholic School Without Walls. And what we're trying to do through this particular program is help our young students succeed in passing and getting very high scores on their ACTs. But it's also experiential, where we take them to maybe Knoxville, Tennessee one day to visit a college up there, or New Orleans, or many other places, so that they get an experience. But what's different about our programming that we do is we want to engage the entire family. And so all of our programs are trying to engage the family as a whole, whether it's a kindergarten or a 12th grader, and really trying to help folks understand the path forward that's not always easy to discover when you're poor. And so helping and partnering, not telling folks what to do, but partnering alongside, collaborating, and that we're in this together, that this is a journey of the missions and those that we are called to serve.
Well, one of the added problems that you have in the Selma area is weather related.
Yes.
Tell us about the most recent problem that you had.
The most recent, maybe some have heard, but we had an EF2 tornado come through Selma and devastated what was already a tough spot, a crisis area in terms of housing, where we have 800 vouchers that can't be used in the city because there's not affordable housing or there are no vacancies, if you will. And what's happened now is it wiped out 400 homes completely. So it really exacerbated an already housing crisis to the next level.
Yeah, one of the people from there put it well that the tornado didn't really cause the
No.
trouble. It exposed how bad the housing was. The
Yes.
housing was already pretty poor quality.
Very, very.
Nothing's being fixed up, right?
No, a lot of absentee landlords in Selma where they will be charging rent of $100 or $200, but you are living in a shack. And now that they have been destroyed by the tornado, I guarantee most of these absentee landlords will not be rebuilding. And if they were to rebuild, they certainly wouldn't be charging $100 or $200 a month in rent. It would be well beyond the capacity of those folks to pay what would be needed to recoup the cost of rebuilding.
Yeah. And you were telling me earlier today, even the cleanup is a problem.
Even the
because the FEMA, from the federal government, the emergency administration, they don't pick up the rubble because the city doesn't have the money to pay them to
Right.
pick it up.
Right, right. So it's one disaster on top of another. And so what happened was needing to get the requisite amount of capital to put down to help pay for the removal was not available. We were not able to secure it. And so the government now is trying, I believe they're still going to try to figure out how to do this, but it's all roads that are owned by the city and not the state and not federal. And so it becomes now the city's responsibility. But the cost of that is between 15 and 20 million, which is the budget of the entire city. So it's a conundrum.
You mean because the roads belong to the city
Yes,
and not to the state or the feds?
correct.
That they can't go and pick up the trash?
Right.
Are these people idiots?
Well, that's for you to decide.
I might
But it's
already
very
have a
difficult.
clue.
It's very difficult. I mean, in that,
Yeah.
and you're dealing, like I said, in a place that is, it's just the infrastructure was already poor, and now it's just becoming more and more difficult for the folks that are in the city.
How can these problems be possibly resolved if they won't pick up trash because they don't own the road? They own the truck.
Right.
What does it
Well,
matter? How do you solve these kind of things?
Those are questions that really are government questions to try to answer. I, as running the missions, don't have a dump truck or a cherry picker to go do it. Otherwise, I would. It's just very, it's very sad to see this happening over and over again because it's on the backs of the poor. It's consistently on the backs of the poor.
Yeah. I came across a similar situation in Dulac, Louisiana, when Hurricane Ida hit, that the federal government told, it's a town of Native Americans. They've been there for hundreds of years. At least last 400 years since the folks from French Canada came, and the Cajun folks, and they've been down there, and the government said, we'll help you if you give us your land and let us move someplace else, but we won't help you if you stay on your own land. It's stuff like that that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I am with you on that. And the missions in our work in the last 85 years has been to try to solve some of these systemic problems. within, the communities in which we serve. But there are no easy answers when it becomes politics and political and, just vast amounts of money to clean up. That is the equivalent of the total operating budget of a city. It's, it's almost unfathomable how do you get out of this? And we're dealing with that with our folks who we've been putting up in hotels as temporary shelter. Where do they go next? What's the plan? And trying to devise that solution for them is not easy. And fortunately, we are working with some FEMA folks at our community center and trying to help navigate and get folks into homes. The disappointing thing is some of them will have to relocate, to areas that are within a 60-mile radius. In some cases. So,
well. One of the problems that, again, we talked with some local folks earlier today, that the government regulations are very complicated. I think on the positive side, the government is trying to avoid fraud. That's what they're trying to protect against fraud. I understand that. But they make the regulations so complicated, a lot of the residents don't understand how to go through which office you go to fill out which form for this, another form for this, another form for water.
Correct.
And it gets frustrating and very confusing even to the government people. Am I right?
Oh yeah, it's our Catholic Social Ministries has been on high alert, working with our folks to try to really help them understand what's happening and how do you go back. One of the first things that happens for most everybody who applies is they get a denial letter. And so folks believe they've been denied, but they're not necessarily denied, but there is an issue with not putting the right street address, or you forgot your zip code, or some clerical error, if you will. And so folks are now coming to us saying, I've been denied. And so we as a team have to come together and try to explain and get them, re-engaged with FEMA and get the process, working again for them so that they get what can be reasonably given to them.
Yeah. We have a little clip we'd like to show about what the crisis in the Black Belt of Alabama looks like. So let's take a look at that clip.
Sure.
Welcome to a place where the American dream is still just a dream. Welcome to the poverty crisis in the Deep South. A vicious, soul-consuming burden that is passed down from generation to generation. A repetitive daily struggle to provide the simplest and basic necessities for sustaining life, where a family in poverty earns an average of $11,000 a year. Therefore, they consistently have to choose whether to pay the power bill or buy groceries, whether to seek medical help or feed their family. This is what defines rural poverty in the Deep South, where public transportation doesn't exist, jobs are scarce, consistent health care is difficult to obtain, and chronic diseases are double the national average. The high school dropout rate is above 60%, and the unemployment rate is staggering. This poverty creates a sense of hopelessness in the individual that breeds acceptance where there is no belief that an alternative future is viable. Among the poorest population of the Deep South, existence means merely surviving, with no means to build a brighter future.
Of course, Selma is very, very well known from the civil rights movement because it was the place from which a very important march began to go to Montgomery, our state capital. to get the rights to vote. This was another era, and it was horrendous that folks who could be drafted in the military put their lives on the line, many of them dying and getting injured, but they couldn't vote. And they worked hard and suffered a lot to get that right. But that didn't change the poverty in the area. It didn't bring industry, and it didn't bring back the farming. And a disaster like this tornado, and that's, the South is beautiful, but you get a lot of clash between northern weather and the Gulf weather. And that just causes tornadoes.
It does.
So this is a difficult thing for especially the poor.
Especially the poor. And, I have to really commend the folks that work in the missions, because the day that the tornado came through during our lunch service. And we had to close, obviously, while it came through. And we were open 3 hours later, serving again. And they didn't stop. No one stopped. So our Bosco Center, the nutrition center, never stopped serving meals throughout the entire time. We didn't have electricity, and folks were pulling together. Flashlights, car lights pulled up to the front to make sure that everybody was being taken care of.
Yeah.
And but it's still devastating.
And one of the things that I think is very important there, the Edmundite priests had come there back in 1937, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, that was Father Casey.
Yes.
In Paro.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so they came there, and it's not a very Catholic area, is it?
No, not at all. In fact, through our ministry, we serve very few, if any, Catholics on a regular basis. And so we are there of service to the church. We are the Catholic presence in a part that, where many Catholics would be frowned or looked down upon, where, we actually are the bright hope for that area.
Well, and is there a Catholic parish in town?
Yes, Queen of Peace.
And so this is, something that has happened, is that one of the most trusted institutions in town is the Edmundite missions, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They, one of the, I know I don't think you like boasting about it, but sometimes there are folks in an area that sometimes look out for themselves more than their neighbor, but the Edmundite mission has a really strong, solid reputation for not doing that. That they are there to serve people who don't give them anything back, don't want anything back. What do we do to help?
Yes.
And that's a key attitude.
Yeah, all of our services are offered for free. We do intake for anything that we might give out in terms of utility assistance or those monetary funds. Folks are vetted through that to make sure that it's going to the right people,
Right.
And to the right bill and all of that. But all of our other services are offered free of charge to anyone who comes, funded by all of our wonderful donors throughout the United States.
So that's been a positive thing, but the goal is also to help folks to get themselves established.
Yeah, when Father Casey and Paro went down there, their whole purpose was to evangelize. And what they learned right away was there was no lack of faith, but
that's right.
Folks were starving in the streets. And so from the day that they arrived, they started handing out sandwiches from the back door of the mission house. And so that ministry has just grown and grown. And as a mission, what we've tried to do is we will never walk away from the corporal works of mercy. And as you rightly said, if we do, the Lord will walk away from us. And we'd never want that to happen. But it doesn't stop us from being creative in working our service to solutions model to really empower the folks in a new way that is transformative not only for them, but for the missions itself and how we deliver services. You know, when a lot of people say, you know, teach a man to fish, that's fine as long as there are fish in the pond. And so we've got to teach folks, you know, and partner with them and not tell them what to do, but figure out how do we do this together as a faith community, as people, as humans, and make this journey together where we might be providing a service, but what is the end game here?
Yes.
And so through that, through our educational programs, through working with families, our, the academy, our youth center, our community center, all of these things are towards one goal, and that is providing a service, but articulating what does the solution look like in the end for this individual. So whether it's workforce development, apprenticeship programs within the missions, a whole host of activities like that that can train, build confidence, work on soft skills, give actual hard skills too, and get folks, and it's a give and take on both sides. And the one thing that is of great gift, and you said, we talked earlier about trust, is that the folks that we serve own the missions. The missions is their home. And a funny story I can tell you is one day we had our juice machines up, and we had decided that we were going to just serve water at lunch because the juice machine fillers hadn't come in. And so this one man, homeless guy, came up and he said, "Mr. Chad, are we broke?" And I said, "What do you mean are we broke?" And he said, "Are we broke?" I said, "Patrick, no, we're not broke. What do you mean?" He's like, "There's only water coming out of the machine, no juice." But what I thought was best was he said, "Are we broke?"
Yes, yes.
Are we broke?
Yeah, because he identifies.
He identified that as his, as
Right.
ours, as
Right.
his home, as his place of refuge. And that's always stuck with me and has been a guiding force for all of the work that I do. It's humbling to be of service in this way, 365 days a year. And all of the folks that we serve are so grateful. A lot of folks say, well, it's just another charity. They're just giving it out. It's not like that in the missions, and it's not like that with the folks that we serve. They're so thankful and appreciative, and no matter how low you might think that they are, they will tell you they are blessed.
Yeah.
They will tell you they're blessed, and they'll always say, "Now make sure you go see Mrs. Jones or Mr. Jones, because I know they need something more than I do."
I've come across that in working with the poor in lots of places in the world. I'll never forget a woman I met when I was working at missions down in Peru, in Lima, Peru. And this lady said, "Father, I made $32 this week. I'm going to give half of it to the poor." I mean, this month, her monthly income was $32. And she felt rich, and she's going to give half of her riches to the poor. And where I come from, she was pretty poor herself. But there's that sense of folks appreciating that they know there are other folks worse off.
Worse off.
Yeah,
It's a great gift.
yeah, it is.
And to have that appreciation, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And it makes me recommit myself each day.
But it's also a goal not to keep doing these services, but eventually to make them unnecessary. One of the issues, certainly in our country today, is the need to build up family life, because the family has to be the basic unit of helping the members in need from birth forward.
Right. That's right. And that's what our programming is attempting to do. And that's a change because it's a little different than just the corporal works of mercy.
Yeah.
But it is, finding dignity of work, dignity of childcare, a dignified workplace, finding those training, that folks are set up for success and not failure. And if they do fail, that they can come back and talk to us, maybe get a little course correction, and how to, you know, and help them relaunch back into whatever space they may be headed. But we want to be that family member that helps build up. We had a family night in November, and we had over 100 families come. Families.
Nice.
We have a dance class with these young girls, and they do praise dance, they do tap, they do ballet, things that they would have never done before. And at the end of the 6-week cycle of that dance class, they have a recital. The dads and the brothers and the uncles and the mothers that come, they fill the seating in our community center, and they have flowers, and they bring them to the girls at the end. The girls think that they're on Carnegie, at Carnegie Hall performing.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful.
But it's the most important people in their lives
Yes.
that are applauding
Yes.
for them.
Yes. And so, when you start to create that kind of a community, you can actually change things.
Yeah.
And when folks start talking about what's happening and where is it happening and what's going on, you can really change the narrative of a family, of a youth, of somebody who thought that there was no hope, that there is hope, and that there is support, and that there is a way, and I don't want to say out, but a way towards something.
Yes.
Because they don't necessarily need to leave Selma, but it would be great if they were able to get an associate's degree at our community college.
Selma itself has a lot of very possibly beautiful old buildings
Yes.
that could be very much thriving, but there's just no industry. And again, the agriculture is often neglected. The land is fallow, and that's one of its best resources. I would hope they would never build huge housing tracts over that land. It's just such fine, rich soil. But it has to be a way of figuring out how do we get to that point of making ourselves economically independent.
Yeah, and that's when I was mentioning a little bit earlier about our Black Farmers Initiative. One of the things in providing that capital and being a purchaser of the produce that they're going to grow, and that we commit to doing that. One farmer that we've worked with as sort of a beta test to see, work out the kinks, if you will, before we expanded, and those funds came from the Ras Cobb Foundation for Catholic Activities to help us create some economics progress. And this one farmer, through us procuring and building a place where when he harvested it on Thursday and we opened up our market on Monday, we had a cooling room, so his greens didn't go bad. And so we were then able to distribute fresh fruits and vegetables as opposed to cans. We had one man come back and say, "Can I bring you the 75 cans of canned potatoes?" Because he said, "I'll never eat them." But he wanted fresh potatoes.
Yeah.
And healthy nutrition. But back to the farmer, he was able to hire 2 helpers to help harvest what was being purchased.
Exactly.
And so the economic multiplier of giving a grant to help buy the seeds and build this room where we have the cooling facility, it gave 2 more people a job.
And it's not just those 2 people, it's their families.
It's the families. There's a ripple effect to everything.
Exactly.
And we have a commitment from them that they're giving fair wages, so it's not, $2.50 to, work all day. It's, a fair wage, a good wage, and that's part of the commitment of what, we're trying to make sure that they understand their value. That just because you can get somebody for $7.25 doesn't mean that's what you should pay them. What is the value to you? And the dignity of this. There's dignity in having a good paying job. And so we're trying to create those things in a small way right now, but we hope that it will expand and become a model that could be replicated in other rural communities.
Well, it's just like in this town I was talking about before, Dulac, the government wouldn't do stuff. They just wouldn't do it unless they did it their way, and that meant moving the Indians off their land. And Indians fell for that in other places. They're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
And so that tribe is going to stay put. But it was the church working with the Catholic parish, working with Mennonites who came and volunteered. And these folks getting things done. This is where it seems to be a very important part of our future, that we do take seriously whatever you do to the least of my brethren, you do to me.
Yes.
And we're doing this to Jesus, or we're neglecting to do it.
That's right.
And this is one thing you have to do. We'd like you to learn more about the Edmondite missions. You can do that by going to edmonditemissions.org. edmonditemissions.org. And also when it comes to the tornado relief, it's edmonditemissions.org/tornado relief. They might even appreciate some volunteers who know what they're doing, and maybe could even drive a truck on roads that ain't theirs. We're going to take a little break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with your questions and comments, so please stay with us. Thank you. Welcome back. You ready for some questions?
Yes.
Giddy up. Let's start off with Mike in the great city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mike, what can we do for you today?
Good evening, Father Mitch and Mr. McAkern. Thank you for taking the question.
Sure.
My question is somewhat historically based. The Society of the Edmondites has its origin, as I understand, in France, where they experienced anti-clericalism, which compelled them to come to the U.S. Does this anti-clericalism experience help them in working in the U.S. South, which historically was hostile to Catholics or Catholicism? Mm-hmm. If so, is it against Catholic doctrine, papal infallibility, scandals? And considering you're 4% of the population there, Catholicism, or Catholics, I should say. And lastly, do you still incorporate the principles of St. John Bosco when you try to reach challenged youth there in the South, particularly in Alabama? So that's my question.
Thank you. That's not a question. That's a lot of very good questions. So first of all,
yes,
about the the French anti-clericalism came from the secular mentality and the liberal philosophy of the 18th century and into the 19th. Has that been a problem in the South?
Well, I will say from the writings of Father Casey and Pero back in 1937, there was a great mystery surrounding why they would be there. But they quickly became part of the fabric of Selma and partnering with the community. And to this day, we were talking earlier in the show about the trust factor. Anywhere in Selma or surrounding towns, everybody will say the Catholics, the fathers, the missions, with great respect. Because again, it has not been an organization or individuals that have come in to try to dominate, but rather partner with the community. And so that sense of a Catholic anti-clericalism just is not something that folks have spoken about or that I think has been felt. maybe in the earlier years, again, that question of what are Catholics doing here, that sense of wonder, but you know, the missions has become so rooted and never left in 85 years, regardless of what the situation, and has stood by with every, you know, with every generation that has been called to be ministered to by the missions. So I don't think so.
I also suspect that, you know, one of the things our canon law prohibits is clergy getting directly involved in political office, that we don't run for office, and things like that.
Right.
And we're not, my impression is that the Edmondites were not trying to become the kings of Selma or something.
No.
That's not.
No, it's all been a ministry of service and,
Yeah.
and really raising folks up and being a support network and system for those that needed it. You know, and one of the best things about the missions is that from its earliest days, the Edmondites have called lay folks into ministry with them. And so there's been an understanding throughout the community and the service of the missions by its employees. And so folks clearly understand that the Catholic Church is there as a trusted, protective agent, and not one that's trying to hurt or tear down or destroy anyone. And so I think that trust factor is, you just really can't lean on that enough as to why folks really do you know, trust what we do, value what we do, and partner with us on everything that we do.
And my other impression is that it's also not what some people feared, a paternalistic, oh, you just stay back, we'll just do this offer. No, it's
partnership.
Empowering people to do stuff for themselves.
Yes.
You know, in a fairly confusing world, you know, negotiating through complicated government forms.
Right.
You know, this is, you know, just empowering them to do that rather than, oh, you just sit back and we'll do it for you. That's not.
You have to be a collaborator and you invite people in and let people understand what you're about. Then it takes away the cynicism of what are they trying to get. And when they realize nothing except to be of service, to, you know, to proclaim the gospel in our word and deed, and to be there, and that we're not walking away. That was the other thing that I think is, we've been a steady influence, a steady rock through all the ages since 1937. And I think that says a lot, where nonprofits come and go, and things shift and change. We've been there and we continue to grow. That's the other thing. We're expanding. We're looking at ourselves in a new way. We're asking the community to look at themselves in a new way. More outward facing as opposed to, inward facing, more about the community rather than just the individual. So I think all of those things people start to get excited about and realize that, again, we're in this together.
Yeah, and a lot of you live right there, so it's not something you come from on high. This is our home.
Yeah. But I'm impressed that Mike from Pennsylvania had so much information on the Edmondites. That's pretty great.
Yeah, and he knows that we're only 4% of the population, which, by the way, is double our size back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Sir, where are you from?
We are from Knoxville, Tennessee, St. Thomas the Apostle Parish in Knoxville.
Wonderful. Good to have you here.
We're enjoying our visit today here, and thank you very much for having us on part of your show.
Yeah, delighted to have you. What can we do for you today? What's your question?
Well, I think, thank you, Mr. McEachran, for being here to talk about what sounds like a really challenging situation for poverty, certainly in Selma, Alabama, probably true in many other parts of the country as well. But my question, I guess, is just a little bit more on the personal side. How does someone like yourself get involved in this area? What is it that drives you to do the work that you do? Sort of what's your background? Why did you come here?
Well, I appreciate that. So I was educated by the Society of St. Edmund at St. Michael's College in Colchester, Vermont. And that's where my journey really began. They were a staple and continue to be in the state of Vermont. And just over the years, have always stayed in contact and helped run another one of their ministries, Enders Island in Connecticut, worked in several other dioceses. And one day I got a call from the Superior General asking me if I would be willing to come down and help Father Richard Mahalik, who was the mission director before me. And I said, sure, I'll go down. Father Dick was one of my professors in college, so I said, yeah, I'll go down. And it was not something I envisioned. I went down there to see if I could help with some of the transition that was going on. The mission director, Father Roger, had been there 26 years and retired. And when I was there, something started to change inside of me, and I just wanted, and I kept going back. I'd take a week and I'd go back, and I was using vacation time and whatnot, and finally Father Dick said, would you be interested in coming to Selma? And I don't know if I laughed or cried first, because I wasn't sure what to do. I knew what I wanted to do, but you know, the ways of the world get you caught up. Should I be living in this big city? You know, should I be doing this and should I be doing that? And I said, you know, the Edmundites really gave me my life in a lot of ways. They were a family to me and continue to be a family to me. And I said, I owe this to them. And so I went, and I'm in my 15th year of mission as missions director. And you know, it's interesting, over those 15 years, the missions has changed, and you know, we're doing some new innovative things. And one day, I remember I've read a book by Pope Benedict, and it was trying to find serenity and understanding the difference between serenity and peace. And in the book, it was, when you find serenity, you will not be shaken. Peace can be shaken. You can be, you know, your peace can be, you know, a little disturbed once in a while. But if you're serene, you will always be centered on Christ. And one day I was driving over the bridge, coming back into town, and I had this wave come over me of great serenity that it hasn't left.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, I became even more joy-filled in my service and wanted to be of greater service, and it inspired me to do more. And so, you know, a lot of these initiatives that seemed impossible became much more possible. The dream that I had and what I thought might work to change some of those things that you and I were talking about, I wanted to see that happen. Now, my peace has been shaken a few times, but my serenity has not. And I'm just very, you know, I feel very blessed. And Father Casey, when he came down in 1937, was at St. Michael's College. And so I feel that he and I share a kindred spirit of Vermont. And I just feel that, you know, it's good to recognize when you're happy and when you're doing what the Lord is calling you to do. It's not perfect every day, as you know. No. And it's heart-wrenching at times, but it's so worth the commitment when, you know, somebody just says, God bless you.
Yeah, this is an important thing, that it's not only for religious priests, brothers, and nuns to be involved. The importance of laity in a committed mission is a very high priority. That was one of the real gifts of the Vatican Council in highlighting that role of the laity, especially in a lot of the missions outside the church building, outside the actual celebration of the sacraments. It really is proper and right that lay people, along with religious, are actively involved in leadership and service. It's a very important thing.
And it's such a great gift. And you know, we have wonderful benefactors throughout the United States. And for as many as I can, I try to write a PS of thanks. And you know, I wrote one day to this man, and I just said, you know, thank you. I'm humbled to serve in your name 365 days a year. And he called me and said, I'm so proud that you're there because I can't be. And those are life-giving moments.
Right.
You know, when somebody comes back and says, I get it. And we're just so thankful that somebody like you and others are there doing this work on our behalf. That is a gift beyond measure.
Yeah. And this really is all of us taking different roles that we all have and letting them coordinate together within the whole church, the whole body of Christ, in order to be able to serve the brothers and sisters that are hungry, naked, sick, in prison, and to see them as Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
and it's a wonderful gift to be in love.
Yeah,
And that's the way to be in love,
Yeah.
you know.
absolutely. I have another question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
So you're part of the Knoxville group.
Go
Good.
Vols.
Good to have you.
My question is, so you've alluded to the fact that the missionaries live in Selma, and I'm wondering, is that a permanent residency or is it a rotating residency, and how do you fight burnout and fatigue?
Well, after the tornado, I think my staff and team members in Selma are, they are the best in the country, I'll tell you. And they have not stopped, and I couldn't be more proud of them. Yes, we are permanent staff, and we live permanently in Selma. Like I said, I've been there now for 15 years, and everybody who works in the Selma office on our campus there live in Selma or not too far away. And in our other counties sites, they live in those areas as well. And so yes, 15 years living in downtown Selma, Alabama, where I didn't know that would be my home, but it has been a joy. So yes.
Yeah, and this
But you have to know the community.
Yeah.
If you don't live there, you can't be part of the community if you don't understand the community.
Right.
And so that, you know, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work any other way.
Yeah, no, that's a important element because this is also sometimes the difference between a government service and the faith-based, the church services, that because folks in government sometimes know there are other people that would use the government. So they have to be careful. That's why they have all these forms. That's why they make them complicated. They want to make sure that they can check on things and all that. It's frustrating, but it's understand. But that's the difference between people who have this structure they have to fit into, versus being on the ground and knowing people, loving them, and having as we say down here in Alabama, walking around sense.
Walking around sense.
You have to have walking around sense so that you know this guy's going to drink it all, but this one is starving.
Right.
And that only comes from knowing people.
Yes.
This one has a bunch of kids that need clothes, and over here they really need food. I mean, you know people.
You know people, and it's what's really wonderful is celebrating too. We have a community Christmas party. We're over 1,500 kids come, and over 2,000 people in total. So you've got to have the joy, even in a moment of this not always great situation. Where life is tough. The kids will say, it's real out there, and when they say that, it's a very difficult existence.
Yeah.
And that is it's important that we also celebrate and laugh together and, you know, have picnics and do those types of things, so that, again, we understand each other. You know, and it does make a big difference. We deliver about 300 meals through our Meals of Hope program, and I was delivering in one of the housing complexes, and had a tap at my window, and this young man, tap, roll down my window, and I feel something at the back of my head. Well, it's a gun. And he keeps talking, and I said, "Jamari, is that you?" He's like, "Mr. Chad?" I said, "Get in this car." He's like, "I only need $5. I said, "You were going to pull out a gun and kill somebody for $5. He goes, "But I didn't know it was you."
That's nice, friendly.
So, you know?
Friendly.
But I knew his voice. I knew his voice. And so I got him in the car and took care of that day. But, you know, it's just knowing, you know, can you hear your people's voices? Can you understand it? You know, and just being able to do that, now he's, you know, doing great things. But that one moment could have changed his life forever.
Not to mention yours.
And not to mention mine. I've never, I won't tell. Well, my mom's watching, so sorry, Mom. But
I know.
she doesn't like to hear those things.
No.
But
No,
it is an amazing moment.
When I worked with street gangs in Chicago and had similar experiences, some things you just don't want to tell your mom.
Yeah, you just don't want to tell your mom.
No.
And I didn't plan on telling that tonight, but now she's going to see it. I'm sorry, Mom. I love you.
Hope you're not in trouble.
Well, I'll find out on Friday. She's coming to visit, so
He'll be good.
I'll try.
Yeah, no, but that it does make a difference. And, you know, I remember a guy pulled a gun on one of the friars of the renewal. You know,
Yeah.
and the guy in the friar said, "Look, I don't have any money." I said, "Oh, Father, sorry, I thought it was somebody else." You know, but they knew the folks there.
Exactly.
You know, and then it does become an opportunity. Like you, get in the car.
Yep.
Let's
Yeah.
be real in another way.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know? And this is where we get to be extended uncles, aunts, dads,
Yes.
moms that
Yes.
they may not have.
Exactly.
We get involved and we do some of that basic common sense stuff.
And love.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
Know that they're loved.
And this is something that, you know, certainly in my experience with the street gangs, it took that kind of stuff to talk people down and all these other things that you do in life.
Yeah. And I appreciate when the lady spoke about burnout, and that is something, you know, that I try to make sure that my staff are aware of, and we're trying to do better, because you can work and work and work and work.
Won't stop.
And nonstop, because there's no lack of work to be done. And, you know, a lot of late nights and, you know, not sleeping so well and things like that. So, you know, folks on my staff are like, "Are you taking care of yourself?" Even the priest and, you know, the brothers and my board of directors, you know, they're very conscious about that. So it helps, but you know, you've got to be mindful.
You do. You do. And same thing with parents. Sometimes parents just have to have a date night,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
and grandma and grandpa, the kids love you. See ya.
Exactly.
You know, but you do things like that to take care of yourself so you can continue to pace yourself,
Right.
and do what you do. I want people to know more about the Edmondite missions, especially here in this mission state of Alabama. You go to edmonditemissions.org, or you can also call them at 1-888-540-7722. And if you want to know more about tornado relief and helping there, it's edmonditemissions.org/tornado relief. We're flat out of time. It's gone by quickly. Chad, it's great to have you back.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for doing what you do. And may the Lord bless all of you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and lead you in all of your ways by his peace. Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
And we can bring you this mission only because of your support. So please, as Mother Angelica would ask, keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill, and we'll be able to pay all of our bills too. God bless you all, and thank you.